This is Boxing Tickets NI in association with Violent Gentlemen. And we're glad to say we've tracked down the honey badger, Eddie Treacy. And firstly, I want to say, Eddie, we haven't obviously planned this. I didn't know this was happening, but it's great to see a Boxing Tickets t-shirt for an interview.
Oh, yeah. You're giving us all this platform for us, so I said I'd return the favour and just wear the t-shirt for the support,
Definitely, isn't it? It's great to see, obviously, rather than me wearing it or seeing other boxers and things wearing it in pictures, and now you see it the other end of the Zoom recording. So it's great to see. And obviously, as you said, we support you, you support us. So it's fantastic to see that. And
absolutely.
Gets the brand out there a bit more. Obviously, people seeing boxers wearing it rather than me wearing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've been actually trying to get you on for quite a while. And because you've had no fight news, you've said, what's the point in us sort of doing an interview?
There's no point. Yeah, absolutely. There's no point. If you have a date, you have left to talk for your training, you have a bit more to speak about. But when you've nothing happening, there's not really much. I've had a few lads ask me for interviews and podcasts, and I've said, if there's nothing happening, there's no point just only talking about the career to date,
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, we'll come on to the potential of obviously have you fight news coming. I know sometimes you can't say too much until it's announced, but I'm sure you can sort of give us an idea. So, how's things with you otherwise? Obviously, I know you've been out of the ring, I think, coming up now, it's about a year and 9 months now. How's things with you? I guess everybody's been through the pandemic, so obviously, it's not something we're thinking, obviously, how's the pandemic been for you? But how's things with you in general? Obviously, keeping ticking over, keeping yourself nice and relaxed?
Yeah, I'm always trying anyway, so I know the pandemic happened, there's no fights happening, so, but I've always been trying. I love trying anyway, so even if not for boxing, for myself, so I've always been taking over. I've been working as well. I work full time anyway, so I'm kept busy that way and trying to come on top of it. So I'm always busy. So it's I've been lucky enough in the pandemic.
And like obviously some people's used, like I guess in some ways some fighters have improved during the pandemic as well, because there's not been pressure. Like sometimes you might maybe go into a camp just for the fight and then back out, balloon up, whatever. But if you've been able to use the pandemic to sort of learn new things in boxing, obviously you have a lot more time without it being rushed. Have you been able to sort of fine tune some things you maybe, maybe you've done you look back at fights and seen, what, my job's not as good, or I need to pace myself better. Have you been able to fine tune things that you've already been doing good?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just working on simple things again. Just job, like I said, simple things. Back to the basics and the fundamentals. Just keeping everything simple and just working on that, because you look back in fights and you see you're dropping hands, or your feet, you're not bringing your feet with you or anything like that. Just keeping everything simple. Things that you can actually do on your own, not in the gym, that you don't need to do in the gym. So just keep things simple, and just obviously to keep the fitness up and the recovery as well. Recovery is very important. So keeping all that in check.
And like obviously in the south as well, you've been different themselves. Obviously, I think it's only been recently gyms and stuff have reopened, potentially maybe in the south. So obviously a lot of the stuff you maybe had to have done was out in the roads or in a back garden or things like that. So I guess it sort of took you away of the luxuries of training in a boxing gym and going, let's go and do a road work, let's train by ourselves and get yourself in a good routine with it.
That's it, yeah. I was working anyway, so I'm working full time. So I had a little training plan, so I come home from work, train each day. So I have a boxing bag at the back. So the coach said when the club closed, everyone take a bag with them so they can keep the bag work up. So it was all good. I kept busy anyway.
Fantastic, and that's the main thing. And it's not ballooning up in weight and not obviously forgetting how to box and things as well.
So it's very easy to put on weight, especially during the pandemic when there's no fight news happening. You want to eat all the time, but you have to understand that, especially in a fight camp, it's very easy to put it on, but it's very hard to take it off. So I've been trying to keep myself in check, which I have done, and not blowing up, which is very easy to do, like a lot of people have. So it's all good on that front.
And particularly when you see a good weather and stuff as well, it'll be so easy to get the barbecue and a few beers, and the next thing you know, you're going, Craigie, I have to lose this again, But obviously, as we always do, sort of first time, Eddie, you probably seen obviously some of the interviews and stuff as well. Obviously, been a supporter of the page, but as we always do, we sort of rewind the way back. And what age did you get started in boxing?
I I was in and out as a kid for years. No, never really stuck consistently. Maybe since I was about 12, 13, went down, done a few nights for a few weeks, a couple of months, then stopped, went back then a few years later. Played football for a bit, but never really stuck at it consistently until Mark set up his own, my coach now, set up his own place in Bray, and that was in 2015. And just when he set up that, went up, tried a few classes, just fell in love again, just had a few fights. Obviously, never had a fight in when I was any younger, but when he set up, it got me a card, had a few fights, won a few novices titles, and then just got hooked and never really left since. Been boxing ever since probably 2015. I think the summer 2015 I went up and tried the first station.
So you pretty much really, when you think of it competitively and fighting, you probably only really been probably fighting what, about 4 years?
Yeah, probably about that, yeah.
In 2019, so about 4 years. So you're relatively obviously fresh in the boxing, which is, sometimes you say the longer you're involved in the sport, the more punishment you've taken with spar and everything else. So you're relatively fresh in the sport to sort of only know the good times and obviously not the really hard slogs for years and years to sort of get it. So
yeah.
I guess all you know is obviously success and obviously getting the best of yourself. So that's a good way to be.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. My brother was in boxing. See, I played football and my dad put my brother in boxing since he was 8. And he doing it since he was 16, 17. He got sick of it then and then stopped. And then I took over basically. So yeah, it does. You have to love it. It's not the type of sport you can only be in halfway. You'll find out in the ring if you're only in halfway when you haven't put the effort in training. So yeah, you can't be in boxing. You have to be in a full tilt or nothing, because you'll get hurt if you don't otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. And as I said, sometimes I think people think of boxing's an easy game sometimes, and you see that journeymen, not even journeymen. Sometimes people look at obviously Lara against Josh Warrington, James Tennyson beaten by a Mexican, wasn't expected to win. So sometimes people think, whenever they see football and see odds, they go, it's easy. But in boxing, when it happens, it's such a rarity sometimes that it's like buses, 2 or 3 come at once. I think with 3 or 4 Mexicans come over to the UK, during the pandemic.
Wasn't there a spike a couple of weeks ago, or not a couple of months ago on Eddie Hearn shows that the Mexicans were just beating, I think 3 or 4 Mexicans beat the underdogs, beat the other guys.
Yeah, Warrington was beat, James Tennyson was beat. I think it was actually another couple of matchroom fighters was beat there as well. So I think it was getting to the stage where people going, if you're Mexican, you're not getting a fight.
Yeah, I love the Mexicans. They can come forward and fight. I think I'm half Mexican.
If you wear a wee sombrero to your next fight, they probably think you're Mexican.
Yeah, but it'll take over Gomez. Michael Gomez is his nickname, the Irish Mexican.
Yep, the Maniac.
Great nickname too. Yeah.
I'm sure he cost promoters some money in his day. I remember, was it the Alex Arthur fight? I think he smashed the locker room up. It was in Leisure Centre, and he wrecked every locker in the place to G himself up for fighting.
Yeah, that's a cracking fight, him and Alex Arthur.
Brilliant fight.
Cracking scrap.
Anybody who wants to get involved in boxing, obviously, or needs to feel the bug of boxing, that's a fight that says it all for me.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I love that, yeah. Cracking scrap that is.
So what happened then that you decided to turn pro? Obviously, you didn't have a lot of amateur experience. You obviously signed over with Jay Byrne, who obviously was at that stage doing a bit of promoting. So how did that come about, and why did you decide to turn pro?
I only had, like I said, I had less than 20 amateur fights. One at Leinster Novice and the National Novices, and then I was trying, there wasn't really much happening. Then I got offered a couple of unlicensed fights with the 10-ounce gloves on and like a pro feel to it, basically. And I got offered that, fought one of them, I think it was in November 2016, and enjoyed it, loved it, the crowd and the walkout and everything, just loved that feel of it, the pro style of it, basically. And then had another one in February, I think, out in Black Rock. Just loved it. And then I think it was a couple of months later, Jay was setting up his own promotional company. He just said to me, look, do you want to turn over? And I had a chat with the coach and said, yeah, no problem. Let's go for it.
I had Jay on.
My sort of style anyway.
Eh?
My sort of style anyway. I know nothing technical about me. I just come forward and fight. So it was suited anyway. So
We had Jay on the other week, and obviously he was explaining obviously how he got into the box and things as well, because Jay didn't have a lot of amateur experience either. But you didn't go over with him to Liverpool. I think he took a team over to Liverpool, thinking it was like a white collar type show, and then ended up being it was guys that were at a good level, and there's no head guards, and then
Oh,
they,
yeah. No, I wasn't. I wasn't with him that time. No, no. I think the team that he went over to fight, they came over to fight us in the November or the February, the following February. But I think it's all that circuit. He knows a couple of guys on the circuit, and they all basically run shows together, unlicensed, obviously.
mm. And it's funny how it all worked out. And then I think he was looking at it wasn't deciding he was going to keep it going. And then people were going, "Come on, we enjoy it," and then that's obviously how it came about.
It's a,
You know?
it's a cracking night. It's a cracking night. The shows that were put on. Great. It's basically the same show as a pro show, but just obviously not licensed fighters. But it's just 10-ounce gloves, no vest, walkout music, big crowd there. Loved it, basically.
It's like white collar stuff could obviously get slated and things at times. You know, people call it semi-pro, blah blah blah, whatever, and it gets on social media it gets slated. But like there's so many people come through, unlicensed white collar route indie boxing, that it shows that you don't need to be the most talented person in the world. You don't need to have a big massive amateur career. You can come into it and you can take to it. There's not a heavyweight under Eddie Hearn.
Eddie Hearn, yeah,
Um,
he's always going for. I think it's Wardley, was it?
Fabio Wardley. He comes through the white collar route,
Yeah,
so he's another success story, which is there. They say, well, give everybody a chance. If they're good enough, they'll make it. Rather than
look at.
going, you didn't box for Ireland, you didn't box for England, you shouldn't be a pro boxer. Let them make their own.
Exactly. If you can fight, you can fight. There's no, you have to win an elite title or you have to represent Ireland in the world stage. But if you can fight, you can fight. You can get in the ring and punch and you're strong, you have power. It makes no odds what route you came up for, what amateur background. You see a lot of guys as well who were top amateurs and then they turn over and they get in with a rough guy and their amateur career goes out the window. Well, their amateur pedigree that they had basically is no use to them in the pro ring. I've seen a good few fights that happens in.
Particularly when you get somebody that's wants to come forward, wants to have a fight. They say the technique and everything goes out the window, and if you don't have a chin and you get hit, that's it.
That's the time. It's all good throwing these punches, hard punches. You have to be able to take a few too.
You definitely do, and obviously, like I think we've only seen one of your fights live, but obviously you're fighting the Devonish. You were just there. Every punch, 100% was put in. I'm taking this guy's head
Yeah.
off.
Do you know what happened that fight, Steve? That was a Victor. He's a tough guy, that guy. But the week of that fight, I was dying off with a cold.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, I wasn't going to pull out. But I remember up in the hotel before going up to the fight. And I was in the room, and the missus was there, and I was there trying to do breathing exercises. No, just to open up the lungs, and because I was going out to have a fight, and I knew this guy was a tough customer, good journeyman, he's been with some good guys. And I was up in the room, and I was doing breathing exercises, trying to open up the lungs, and just hoping for the best. And even when I went down to do the medical, I was thinking to myself, I hope it passes. They hope they let me fight, but I was grand anyway. But I get into the ring, or even at the warm up before that, I was hitting pads with the coach Jeff, and Coach Mark was looking at me, and I was just his head and said, "Jesus, going into a fight now." I was out of breath after the first combo on the pads in the warm up. I said, "Go on, just put it in the back of your mind." And I went down to the fight, and just the first 20 seconds, just going in, just tried to hurt him, but he kept coming. He was tough, but yeah, managed to get the 4 rounds in anyway. I just put it to the back of my head. I knew I could do it. Just try breathe in the clinch and try get the breathing in as best I could at the end of the round. But got the 4 rounds in it. It turned out to be a cracking fight. I really enjoyed the scrap in the end. But just getting past that first round was tough.
And I think you'd actually him down a few times as well in that fight, didn't you?
Yeah, I had him down. I think I had him down in the second. It wasn't called. I watched the fight back. I had him down in the second. It was a punch, but the ref didn't call it for some reason. But had him down in the last, the last round. I think it was the last 10 seconds or something. Dropped him, and then the bell went. Obviously, he was there for the taking. But a tough customer, very tough customer.
Definitely.
I wouldn't mind fighting him again.
You take him again, will you?
Oh, I'd love to, yeah. But he came in. I got a cut on the eye in the second round, I think, and I was in getting stitched up. With him and his coach or whoever he was managed by came in, and wanted to see the gloves, wanted to inspect the gloves, thought that they were tampered with or I had something in them or something. Thought I was doing a margarita on them, but just came in, had a look at them and just said, there you go, like there's the gloves I was wearing. But he said to me after, it was a nice compliment off him. I got off him afterwards. He said, I met him down at the end of the staircase and he said, that was the hardest I've ever been hit and I've been in with some good guys, like, so it was nice to get that words from him, you know.
It's definitely a good comment you get, and like you know more than anything, Eddie. Obviously, you know, fighting a journeyman sometimes they get slated, you know, like nothing else. They get slated at times, but some of them are there to protect their craft, and obviously they help, you know, the likes of yourself and stuff come on. Some of them can be really really bad. You know, you hit them one punch and they go down. You know, they don't want to
Yeah.
be there, and then you get other ones that'll come and they'll give you 4 good rounds and they'll give you respect or they'll give you help and advice afterwards, you know, which they all play their part in the sport. And again, the day, if you didn't have journeymen.
Without journeymen, there'd be no boxing. And it's the casual fan that sits at home and they're eating pizza and they're slating people and they say, oh, yeah, I would have done this, I would have done that. They don't understand. Without boxing, there's no journeyman. Simple as that. And they're at home and saying, oh, he doesn't deserve to be, he's a bum. Calling people, like, no one who gets in the ring is called a bum. 100%. It's not an easy thing to do, to get down and get in the ring in front of hundreds of people and go fight, especially if they're watching you live or anything like that on Facebook or whatever. Like, it's not an easy thing to do, and a lot of people that sit at home, I would have done this. Of course you would, you know. Go down and try. Go try it yourself then. See how tough you are.
Take it.
But I hate people that slate journeymen. Without boxing or without journeymen, there'd be no boxing. Simple as that. Journeymen deserve the height of respect.
Exactly, because like not everybody has that big lifestyle of amateur experience to come into the ring, and you need maybe, you know, maybe a new coach or a new setup or try new things. You need them first few fights under you to get your confidence and stuff up, and then you can bring what you have in. But it's like a sort of build up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you had your first 2 fights under Jay, and then you signed with Boxing Ireland. So you've obviously had your last 2 fights under Boxing Ireland. You boxed in Cork, July 2019 and October 2019. How did the signing with Boxing Ireland come about? And did you notice any difference from working with Jay to teaming up with Stephen and Leonard and Dennis?
No, it was pretty much the same. Like, see, when I was with Jay, there wasn't really much happening at the time. Like, I wasn't in a contract around with Jay. I just basically, like, Jay's a good friend of mine. Like, I had a chat with him and he said, yeah, no problem. I'll promote your manager. There's no contract, and then that was it, no problem. But there was nothing happening at the time, and I had a chat with him and just said, look, I think Boxing Ireland were putting on shows consistently.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll have a message to Stephen and Leonard and see whether could I have a chat, which I did, and see were they interested in signing me, which they were, and then signed with them. And it's all been good ever since. They're the only, like I said, they're the only lads that are still running shows consistently, especially through a pandemic. I can only imagine how hard and difficult it is to run a show, and especially now, like, through the pandemic and everything else, and shows abroad. Like, you hear Leonard talking, and I understand, and I know the costs involved, how difficult it is to run it.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I've been with them now since 2019. I had obviously 2 fights under them, and all good. Looking forward to the next one.
Definitely, and obviously as you sort of touching there and having to fight away, you know, the 2 shows, one in Luxembourg, and obviously one there in Alicante last month. Does it sort of give you more of an itch, you know, when you know they're back and they're doing shows abroad? Obviously, it's not going to be for every fighter they have, because, you know, let's face it, it's probably double the cost than what it normally is. You know, PCR tests, paying for your opponent out there, hotels, taking your team living out. It's mental.
Yeah, obviously, I got offered to fight abroad. Like, the lads offered me, to, like, said, look, there's a fight there for you if you want it. But, like, people don't understand that if you're a pro boxer, you think you're fighting and you're getting paid thousands to fight. You don't understand that you've basically to pay for your opponent to come in through ticket sales. So, but you just say you're getting a journeyman in. A journeyman is a fighter coming over to fight you. That they don't sell tickets. They come over to give you a fight. But they don't sell tickets, so we have to cover their costs through our ticket sales, which is usually, to fight on a show in Ireland is usually between, I know people don't like talking about the money side of it,
yeah,
but it's usually for an opponent and show costs, it's usually probably 2.5 to 3 grand. So basically you have to sell say tickets are €40. You have to sell on average 70, 80 tickets just to cover your costs, just to break even. People think that you're a pro boxer or you're making money and you're taking fights, you're getting paid thousands. It's not like that at all. And you wonder why people ask, why are you doing then? Like, but you're not making any money whatsoever. Like, and if you take out the cost, the camp costs, so your coach, if you're paying your coach, your boxing medical alone costs, I think, €500-600. Brain scans, blood tests, and then you pick up an injury or two in camp. I have to get it on my wrists and my thumbs, MRI scans. I don't know how many I've gotten. There's another €300 a scan. So there's a lot of costs involved, and then going abroad, obviously, like you said, the PCR tests and the COVID tests and everything else that goes with the flights and accommodation for you and your coach. So it is a lot of costs, and without sponsors or good financial backing behind you, you're not going to. And if you're working as well, you're not going to pay that. Which is why I haven't fought abroad. There's a lot of money involved, and I wouldn't ask. I don't like asking anyone for anything, so I wouldn't ask anyone for that money. But yeah, that's why basically I haven't fought abroad.
And I say, I know it's not for everybody. Sometimes I say the costs involved, and I say that the general fan on the street that probably isn't friendly with a boxer, they know the costs involved.
They don't understand. They think because you're a professional. Some of the lads turned over must think that you're professional. Or you sign with these, you're going to get paid thousands to fight. It's not like that at all. And I'm lucky now in that sense that I have such great support. When there's a show on in Ireland, that I can sell over 100 tickets, so that covers my show cost and my opponent. So I'm lucky that way, and I'm blessed, and I'm very grateful for all the support, because that just takes the pressure off me. I can sell 100 tickets, I can cover my show costs, no problem. That's there. I'm not going to make any money out of it, but I'm going to cover my show costs and my opponent costs, and that's I'm very grateful for all the support that I have in that way.
But in some ways, that's a promoter's dream in a way, because obviously when they know by putting you on the show, they're not going to have any worries and you selling tickets, to cover your opponent. It's, I know at times I would come out with comments on social media and things and saying there's no per promoters, but in some ways, obviously, the small hall shows, they're so vital, and obviously getting the numbers of crowds in to cover it. And at least when they know, when they put you in the card, they go, we can mark Eddie Treacy down.
Exactly.
We know Eddie's going to sell
guaranteed money.
Yep.
Guaranteed money. So I have to chase lads for tickets always. Again, more tickets. When there's a show on, for the last 2 shows that I've been on, even down in Cork and Belfast, I brought over 100 to Cork and 100 to Belfast. People that came supporting me. And you imagine there was a show on in Dublin, I reckon I'd do over 300 tickets easy for Dublin. Easy. Especially after the pandemic, everything happening, nothing else going on. People have lost a lot of time, so I reckon I do 300 tickets easy for Dublin. I'm very blessed with all the support I have.
Definitely. I guess sometimes it shows the sort of person you are when you have a good backing, and you're relatively obviously new into the program as well. You've 4 fights, within a 12-month, pretty much a 12-month period. So they have a following. The guy's probably only going to grow bigger as well the more people see you.
Absolutely. I think that's why I have such a great support. People know what to get with me. There's no bullshit. I just come forward, and if I get in the ring, it's in my head that them people have paid money to come up here and watch me. You know what I mean? They probably had to get everything sorted, all babysitters and everything else sorted, and they're paying their hard-earned money to come watch me fight. So I always that's in my head all the time in the ring, that I have to put on a show for the crowd. Oh, well, not for the crowd, but for my supporters. I know other people don't like thinking like that, saying, "Oh, just get in and win and don't care about the crowd." But it's in my head. It's just who I am. Them people are paying for me. I want to put on the show for them. Simple as that.
You want to make sure that they come every time around, so you want them to gab the other team and they go, "Now Eddie's going to be no boring 4-6 round fight tonight. We'll not bother."
Yeah.
Watch it on Facebook.
Yeah.
They're there. They know they're going to get value for their money.
Exactly. Give them the money's worth. Like, you see some lads there. They're great on Facebook and Instagram. They're marketing each other, and marketing themselves, saying how no, that's part of the game too, and they're doing this and saying this, but then they get in the ring and then you put you to sleep. Form was. So you have to be exciting in the pro game. I feel you need to be exciting. You need to get people to want to come and watch it, and that's what I try to do with every fight. Every fight, try to bring excitement.
There's no point saying it all outside the ring and then not performing inside the ring. You have to make sure you have it inside before you can have it outside.
So you see plenty of lads saying that all this, I'll do this and do that, then get in the ring and they're just on the job, like, for the whole fight. Like, I done in my second fight, tried to play it safe, and I regret it not being able to get him out of there, or not being able to even put him down. My second fight wasn't great now, even watching back and thinking back about it. But I just had to play it safe and stick to the boxing. I think I was on the jab for the whole fight. But I'm not giving the crowd what they want, and I regret it since that fight. I said that that's never going to happen again. Like, I'm not afraid to take a few slaps to land one of mine. Like, that's part of the game. You're going to get hit. I know people say boxing is about hitting, not getting hit. It is for some boxers. Every boxer is different. But I'm not afraid to take 3 to land one, because I know when I land one, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna be meaningful.
And when you're speaking of punches there as well, with obviously one of your former opponents, Owen Duffy, on the other week, it was actually full of praise for you. I'm not sure if he knew obviously you were coming on after him or not, but obviously he was full of praise for you, and the fact that I think some people tried to say the shot you'd landed on him was a fluke. And Owen said that obviously be watching the back, he said it wasn't a fluke. You were seeing what he was doing wrong, and you were able to counter that. So he was giving you good advice.
Yeah, he was drunk. Owen's a good lad. I don't know Owen personally now, only since the fight, but even in the build up to the fight, he was respectful. I've nothing against him whatsoever. I know he's moved down a weight. The fight, great fighter. I've nothing against him whatsoever. So I hope he does well. I wish him best in his career.
Yes, well, he's obviously both obviously under boxing Ireland now as well. So I'm sure you have a bit of a laugh and a joke at shows and things as well.
That's it.
Obviously, haven't not boxed obviously since obviously COVID. I'm guessing obviously it's been tough going. Obviously you watch boxing flat out. I'm guessing you've just been waiting for that phone call to sort of come. They say, right, are you ready for a fight? Is there any sort of fights on the horizon coming up for you? I know you'd sort of mentioned there would be fight news potentially incoming.
I think there's a show happening in Belfast now. I don't know the dates and I don't know how much I can say on it, but there is a show happening in Belfast, I think, in the next couple of months maybe. I don't want to say the date. Don't want the lads to give me a bollocking and get in trouble out them, but I think there's a show happening maybe September, October time in Belfast, so we'll see. But I'm on it. It's good to be back. So back into camp now soon, 10, 12 weeks, whatever it takes, just to get back in, get the fitness up. So looking forward to that one.
Sharpie has you well warned. He was commenting, telling you to be on your best behaviour today.
I seen that on Instagram yesterday. Yeah, he doesn't like. He mustn't like. He knows how honest I am. You see, I'm going to speak honest all the time. So some people don't like honest people. They like to hear what you want to hear, But I tell you how it is all the time.
It's sort of building rightly on your next question. You've obviously had a bit of beef, a bit of back and forth with Graham McCormick and Dominic Donegan. What's been going on?
It wasn't even so much with Graham McCormick. It was only, like, I think Graham, because Graham's at the weight, and he was saying, look, if the fight happens, it happens. Like, he knows that me and Dom were sanctioned to fight for the BY Kelly title. So he said, look, let the lads fight and we'll fight the winner. So it wasn't really so much Graham. It was more so Dom. Like, I used to get on with Dom great. Like, I sparred many rounds when we were sparring partners, helped each other out with camps for sparring and whatsoever. But since the fight, with me, see, every fight is different. Since the fight got announced, no problem. Like, he has to be confident, beat me. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But going out in interviews and saying, like, I'm limited and I only have power and I only need to rely on the power, and then trying to be pally with me, like, it doesn't fly with me. Like, when I'm fighting someone, every fight is different. My opponent's the enemy. So I'm not going to be pally with you. Like, I'll shake your hands after the fight, no problem, and I'll give you you have my respect all throughout the fight and the build up. But no respect in the fight. In the build up, no problem. But trying to be pally with me and then putting out interviews saying I'm this and I'm that and I've only power and I'm relying on the power too much and I'm limited. So and then when the fight now it's gone basically, because he's moved up away and I know he's boxing Oran's little poster boy and you want to try to get him his first title without putting him in with me. But you have to pay for them things. No one's going to, like, say things about me and then not react to it. So I'm going to react, and that's just how it happened with him. So That's just basically where it is at the minute. And now he's supposedly fighting 6th of August. He's moved up a weight, so he's at middleweight now. So I'm staying at light middle.
Mm-hmm.
So someone must have said to him that they're not going to put him in with me. They must not want him to get hurt. So we'll see what happens. But if the fight does happen, I look forward to really hurting him in there.
Do you think sometimes, obviously building up a fight, back and forth sometimes, do you think that might bring more out in you? And obviously it just makes you more angry and more wants to take their head off. I guess the beef sometimes is, with anybody likes, I'm sure Leonard and Stephen and stuff would say the same. It'll sell the fight more sometimes when they know there's a bit of genuine rivalry, but it's not hate. It's more the fact that you're going to fight, you can't like each other and build up to it, because if you take your eye off for 1 second, the other person's going to try and take your head off as well.
Absolutely. There's no problem with that. Like, I have no problem with, like, him saying that he's confident beat me, but trying to be licking my arse and trying to be my friend and then saying that I'm limited and going back to his coach and saying what he's saying, that doesn't fly me. Like, I try to be real all the time, so that fake shit, I've no time for any of that. But we'll see if the fight ever does happen, if they're brave enough to put him in the ring with me. I know he might not want to get hurt, but we'll see, and I'll show you. I'll show you that he knows, he's felt the power before, so he'll feel it again.
And like, obviously with Dominic obviously losing, like from me watching the fight in Luxembourg, he didn't deserve to lose that fight. I thought he'd won his fight handy enough. Obviously now moving up to middleweight, what's going to happen with yourself with the BA Celtic title? Who's going to be an opponent there for you? Or you just you do like the Eddie Hearn job and get given it via email? That'd be nice.
You probably know better than I do, Steve. Like that fight, we got sanctioned, and he made all that noise. I'm not into, like I said it from the start, I'm not into all this call out bullshit. Like I'll just say how it is. But that fight got sanctioned, no problem, we're fighting. But he started mentioning my names in interviews, and just mentioning my name all the time, putting out interviews on irishboxing.com. So obviously I'm going to respond.
Mm. And
now since he's lost in that fight in Spain,
Luxembourg,
which I didn't think Luxembourg. I didn't think he lost now, in fairness. I thought he won. I thought he lost a couple of rounds, 3 rounds, or it could have been a draw maybe, but whatever. That's gone anyway. But now, since he lost, that fight between us is gone. Like, I'd be willing to fight Dom on the next show that the Boxing Ireland put on. I'd fight him in Belfast on the next show. I don't care about any of this ring rust or COVID rust, whatever he's bollocked shite on about. Like, I don't care. But I'm willing to fight him in my next fight for the Celtic title or not, if he wants it.
Mm.
If he wants that middle, no problem, fight him at middle. Why is he moving on and not fighting me now? Why is all this? Like, after making all that noise and then me responding and saying, why are you not putting him in with me? Is there a different route for him? Like, why not? That's what I'm just asking the question. I'd be willing, and here I am in an interview saying I'd be willing to fight him in my next fight. With nearly 2 years out of the ring, he's the one been busy, being Ireland's busiest fighter, so he calls himself. But now, since you made all that noise, like, I'm not into all this calling out, but I'm going to respond. No one's going to talk shit about me and write shit about me in interviews and then me not respond. So I'm just going to respond to it every time.
Yep, and like, obviously, if Dominic's not there, it's obviously, what happens to you in terms of obviously the Celtic title. Is there somebody else in the wings? Because it's not like obviously there's a lot of fighters you can fight for. I know. Conor Slater's one's obviously appears to be that they can't fight in Ireland at the moment, so it seems to be the only fighters you can fight is either an MTK fighter or somebody within your own stable in boxing Ireland. So it must be sort of frustrating sometimes where there's only limited people you can fight. I know sometimes they can, like Spain, I remember Joe Fitzpatrick fought a Spanish guy for the Celtic title, so I think Celtic regions can come into it, but it's who do you get to fight?
That's the thing. You see, it's difficult as well. Like, I understand how difficult it is for boxing Ireland to, like, we're all stablemates. Basically, every active boxer in the south or even in Ireland is fighting or signed with Boxing Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I know, like, I seen a couple of call-outs yesterday. I think it was a guy from Belfast was calling out another guy from Crumlin. And,
yes, Stephen Webb was calling out Jack Haney.
But there's no problem with that. Like I got offered to fight Owen Duffy in my 3rd fight, and I've been out of the ring for nearly close to a year, I think it was. I got offered that fight and I said, accept it straight away. I've never turned down a fight. But, like, we're all stable mates, but we all want the same thing. We all want titles. And, well, I know some lads want to push on, but, like, we all want titles, so we're going to have to cross paths eventually. And we're going to have to fight eventually. So I know it's difficult. The lads want to put it on a decent show, maybe keep it for a show for Dublin if there's 2 lads from Dublin. But we're fighters. We want to fight. And you have to let us in there eventually. I know Owen Duffy wasn't signed with Boxing Ireland at the time, but he said straight away, yeah, he'll fight me. I said I'll fight him straight away. Like, that's, you need that. That's great to see.
Yeah.
Like,
That's what
absolutely,
you want.
That's the fight you want. Yeah, exactly.
For some people, obviously, depending on their pedigree and everything else, maybe an all Irish fight might be the furthest they get, but at least it gives them something to see how far they can go, rather than going, don't know, a fight journeyman for 5 or 6 fights, and then we'll maybe look at a fight, and then there's nobody then to fight. They've moved on or they've retired. It's,
yeah.
You need
See,
to
a
have
lot of lads,
interest.
they want to just go 10-0, and I know a few lads touched on it before with you. If you want to go 10-0, you want to keep that unbeaten record, 12-0, 15-0, but you haven't fought anyone. Like, I see some of the rankings that come out, that the box rec rankings put out, and other people that support other fighters, they think that they're the bee's knees, but you fought 10 journeymen, basically. Well, I'd never call journeyman a nobody, but you haven't fought anyone relevant, like anyone with a winning record or who's fought someone decent. Like, lads want to go 15-0 and say, oh, I'm a pro boxer, I've 15 fights unbeaten. But the minute they step up and try to fight someone, they're found out straight away and they can't handle it. Whereas I said from the start, I accepted an all-Irish fight in my first fight. I wanted to fight. Like, they're the type of fights I wanted from the start, and I still want. So, yeah, like I said, you can go 10-0 and 15-0, but you're not having any meaningful fights. I want meaningful fights all the time.
And like, is there any other, obviously, fighters? Obviously, I'm not trying to get you to call anybody out or trying to get you to be disrespectful to anybody, but is there anybody else around the light middleweight division that you sort of have your eye on, or would it be a case then if Dominic moves to 160, you'll move to 160?
I'll fight light middle, super middle if a decent fight got over. There's no, like, I'm not watching anyone specifically now that I like to fight. I said it from the start, and I might sound like a bit of a jackass that I keep saying, is I'll fight anyone at them weights do you want to fight. So it's like I said, meaningful fights. Like, I never want to call anyone out, like, but if anyone wants to fight, they can get in contact with Boxing Ireland, middle, light middle, super middle. But obviously, with Dom saying them things about me, he's going to have to pay for them, so he'll have to fight me eventually. I know Boxing Ireland probably don't want that at this stage, but that fight will have to happen.
And it's probably sometimes finding the right venue for it so you can both sell it as many tickets as possible.
Exactly. It is difficult. Like, I know how hard it is. Like, you hear the lads talk about running the show. Like, so obviously, do you want to then build in a fighter the correct way? Do you want to keep the fights for the decent nights or the decent venues? But you have to let them fight eventually. So hopefully now, with the good news on the horizon, that more nights will happen. I think Boxing Ireland are hoping, they said there's good news there for a link up with someone. So hopefully this will bring more fight nights back, and hopefully this pandemic, we can get more fight nights happening.
Nice.
Especially in Dublin. Like, when was the last Dublin show?
Would it have been
March
March 2019? Would it have been?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, there's over 2 years ago.
March 2019.
And even, like, since I remember before I turned out, there was cards on in Dublin every second month. Like, and I seen that, and it was, even when I turned over, I said that's exciting. You could be fighting every 2 months. Then I turned professional. And then I think I only fought once in Dublin in the Gold Council in the 24th of November. That was the only show that I fought. I had my debut in the Tala there, but it was running consistently before then, and then obviously the insurance costs went up and everything. You can't expect the lads to run a show in Dublin with the high insurance costs.
Yep, exactly. And obviously you're the type of fighter, Eddie, you'd fight every month if you could get a fight.
Absolutely, I love to fight every month. Obviously, if I can still sell as much tickets and cover the costs of the show, which are big costs, but if people, and I would, the support I have, people are mad for the nights out. So I'd fight every month if I could. If there was shows on in Dublin, Belfast, every month I'd fight on every one.
And I say it's sometimes how you see yourself, the fact that if you can get a fight as often, like you know, I know with so many promoters and so many shows and stuff coming, there's going to be opportunities coming. You're keeping yourself in relatively good shape the whole lockdown as well, so there shouldn't be as much ring rust. So get your next fight out of the way, and then, to say, just keep building them up.
Let's say keep pushing right. The Irish title to me is the end goal. Like, I'd love to be able to have the opportunity to fight for the Irish title. I'd love to have that from my house, to put in the sitting room, just look up at it every night and say, that's like, I don't think people understand the significance of the Irish title. Like, Tyson Fury's won it, Steve Collins won it. You know, all these good, great fighters that have won it. Your name's going to be in the same bracket as them. Like, you see some of the Irish fighters sort of sticking their nose up at it and looking down on the side, oh, I'm going to go on to world level and European level. But if you haven't got the right backing and the right people behind you, you're not going to go on to them. So if I was got the opportunity to fight for the Irish title, that would be unbelievable. I'd love to have that opportunity.
There's not so much of it now. Obviously, you probably see it one, maybe two, either Celtic or Irish title fights in a year. You know, I think that the last two Irish title fights, and I'm probably wrong in saying this, but the last two Irish title fights have both been at lightweight. You know, Fergal McCrory and Gary Cully versus Fitzy. I think that was the last two, I'd say, Irish title fights.
Yeah.
The other fights have been Celtic title fights.
That's obviously with lack of shows and lack of lads getting obviously sanctioned for the fights. See, even more fights, there's a lot more lads going to be sanctioned. So with less shows on, obviously the pandemic's had to put in a big dampener on everything and slowing everything right down. But hopefully now we'll kick on, more shows, more people getting sanctioned, and more great fights, Celtic level or Celtic title and Irish title fights.
Yep, and obviously you're standing there waiting for them whenever they come.
No problem. If you let me in, I'll do it. The honey badger get in with no problem.
You're standing at the gates with a pad saying, "What's your name? What's your record?"
Yeah.
Yep, you're fighting me. Come on in. You know.
If only it was that easy, Steve.
It would be nice if it was that easy. Honey badger, where did it come from?
I loved the honey badger since about 16, 17. Just loved always watching. The honey badger's an animal, obviously, in South Asia, and I just loved how rough they are. I loved their willingness to take on anyone, and just thought it'd be suitable. Just thought it'd suit me a bit better, you know.
Definitely fits them well.
I said if I ever got the opportunity to have that name for a ring name, I'd use, and then obviously got the opportunity. So, seeing there's a couple of guys in MMA that have it, use the honey badger nickname, but never seen nearly anyone in boxing. Didn't want to steal their name, but I didn't see anyone in boxing using it. And I said, I'm going to take that name 100%. Even when I said, the lads were asking, what's going to be your box name? The honey badger. I go, what? Where'd that come from? Even still people ask me, where's that come from? But look them up and you'll see why I like them so much.
Yep, I obviously just thought it was your love of honey. Your love of honey, your love of badgers. And that's what I thought it was, you know.
I love honey too, though.
I always just try and find the weird and wonderful questions, and maybe somebody else will probably been asking the same question, and by watching this interview, they'll know why you're called the honey badger.
No, they do, yeah, absolutely. Save me the hardship of telling them, explain to them.
Definitely. Well, you just say, why are you called the honey badger? We'll go and check out my interview and see, you know.
Yeah.
What have you made of boxing during the lockdown? Do you think boxing's got better during lockdown? Do you think it's probably much the same, or has it got worse?
Obviously, like, if you're not signed with a big promoter, you're not going to have the opportunity to fight. Like, I see a lot of Eddie Hearn shows, the Matchroom shows in his back garden or the Matchroom HQ. Like, it's good, but like you see, even them, the fighters saying that like it's not the same without the crowd. Like, the crowds, even the football, crowds are everything in sport. Especially boxing, a sport like boxing, because it's an individual sport. Everyone loves to watch a fight. So without the crowds, it's very difficult. Like, and I see a few of the lads saying it was weird in their interviews, their post-fight interviews with Eddie Hearn, the Matchroom, and Frank Warren shows and that. I liked that you could hear everything in the fight. You could hear the corner, whereas you wouldn't hear that if the crowds were there. I liked listening to the corners, and I liked hearing the actual thud off the punches. You could hear the rough, the thud off the punch. I liked hearing that sense and the corner work. But no, it's I'd say it'd be a weird feeling, like going into a sparring session basically. But yeah, the crowds are everything. You need the crowds there. But I wouldn't mind fighting behind closed doors though either. Just be like a sparring session basically. Yeah,
it's like, you know, if you're not fighting at your best, you know, it's how do you G yourself up? You can only listen to so much of your coach, and then at that stage, then the coach is going there having to rely on you, sticking to it and everything else. You know, times I was watching the boxing, and BT obviously kept putting the crowd noise, blah blah blah, but you hated it whenever the cornerman doesn't want to tell the camera, so they
Yeah,
whisper in your
yeah,
ear and you're going, turn it up, want to hear, you
yeah.
know. So
The
it's
crowd,
good because I guess, you know, sometimes you want to see what happens during a fight to hear the instruction they're given. They go, well, that makes sense why he's doing that, you know, rather than
yeah,
you pretend you're the cornerman shouting at the TV, going through your right hand, through your left hand, jab him, do this, do that. You know, it's good to.
yeah. The crowds are everything. Like even when I'm fighting, and like, there's no feeling like it. And a lot of people don't get to experience that feeling of being in the ring, going to war with your opponent, and having 100+ people screaming their name. That's why, like, the feeling I get when I'm in that ring and going to war with a fella and 100 of your supporters screaming their name. There's no buzz like it, and none will ever compare to that feeling. That's why, like, you'll keep doing it as long as you can. But obviously, the crowd can play in your part, in your favour and against your favour. Obviously, like, you hear that noise and your game plan's going out the window a bit, and you just want to go to war. I think that's what happened with Josh Warren in his last with Larry. Like, he relies on he loves the crowd as well, and he sells a lot of tickets. But I think he put that down, or his coach put it down as one of the excuses. Well, not the excuse, but just saying that the crowd played a part, whereas he loves the crowd and the noise. But if you haven't got that, then it's a real feeling. Like, but yeah, crowd's everything in boxing, especially boxing.
Particularly, you know, like obviously I know there's some big shows coming up. I know yesterday Warrington's card was re-announced, and obviously Katie Taylor's fighting an undercard, and you know it's going to be the thing where a lot of big shows, obviously the Fela here in just over 3 weeks, 3 weeks tomorrow. Thursday today, I've lost days. 3 weeks tomorrow, obviously the Fela is back on as well. So I think what 8,000 people in Belfast going crazy. You know, it's great to see boxing coming back, and hopefully fans will realise when boxing does return that the boxers need that bit of extra support than probably they've had before. That you don't have to chase anybody looking for money, or you don't have to chase them to
Yeah.
take tickets off you. They'll be queuing up around the block. They know the minute you have them.
Absolutely, especially like if you're not signed with a big promoter, like obviously with ticket sales cover your costs. Like, so if you like you haven't having that support there is great. And obviously, I remember like in the Devonish, my last fight in the Devonish, like the place was on wheels. Like even I was talking to a couple of Belfast lads afterwards and saying, "Where do you all come from?" Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
All my supporters were like going crazy, like, and the noise, even the ring walk coming down, like was unbelievable. Like, and you always noticed that even in the ring, like usually you can hear these things, like little things, like. But I just remember hearing the roar of the crowd and just loving it. But yeah, the Devonish was on wheels the last time, and hopefully now, if it's, wherever the next show is, it'll be the same. A lot of the my supporters are looking for a good night out, so hopefully it'll be the same.
Definitely, and obviously I know Belfast always delivers. Um, Obviously as we always do, you know, I know you've been out of the ring, you know, coming up 2 years, so probably your sponsor list will not be as high as others because you haven't had a fight since. But I always like to give the opportunity to thank sponsors at the end interviews, because without you having sponsors, you'd be struggling to have a fight, because yes, your ticket sales may cover you fighting, but then you have your medicals and shorts and training and everything else. So
Everything, camp costs, everything. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've lost. I had great sponsors, but obviously I've lost a couple of them down the line. But obviously, with not fighting, you can't expect them. But the main sponsor I want to give a shout out is to Lizzie Davis of HD Hair Design. It's a good friend of mine. She's been with me since day one. She reached out even before I had a fight. So big ups to Lizzie and a big thank you, big shout out.
And I'm sure, obviously, when you get fight news coming up again, obviously, you know, with COVID and everything else, I guess some of it may have changed for businesses behind you. But once people hear you're having fight news and you're saying, look, I'm looking for sponsors, it'll not take them
It is
long
because
to.
it's great advertisement. It is. It's great advertisement. Your name, like how sponsorship works, is your name, your company name or your company logo goes on the fight shorts, fight t-shirts. So you have basically over 100 people wearing your fight t-shirts or wherever many want to buy them. So it's great advertisement, cheap advertisement, way of advertising. And obviously without the sponsors, if you're nothing, they are a great help and a great asset to every fighter. But if any companies want to jump on board for the next fight, give me a shout and we'll get your logo up on the shorts and the fight gear. No problem.
Definitely. But Eddie, obviously we've come to an interview. I think we've sort of kept you nice and calm. I don't think we've got you sort of boiling over at any stage. I'm guessing obviously Stephen will probably be saying well done for sort of maybe keeping the lid and maybe some subjects you might have wanted to have said more on. But obviously it's been a pleasure starting to get to know more of you. Obviously we'll be looking forward to hearing you getting some fight news. Belfast is just even better. It means it's around the corner for myself. But
Lovely, lovely.
I know you just come back from a couple of days break as well, so it's planning this where you just come back and we've got you nice and relaxed. I'm sure we'll look.
I'm always relaxed. I'm only the only time I'm not relaxed is when I'm in the ring, Steve.
Not get in the ring with you anytime soon.
Collected outside.
I was called out the other week, and I'm not getting in the ring, regardless of who it is. So Callum Bradley, obviously, I got to the stage where he hadn't had a fight, and he was saying, I need to call somebody out, and he's like, I'm calling you out, and I was like, it's not happening. So I'm not fighting anybody. I know not to get inside it, because once you get inside them ropes, there's no rules.
Once you get in there, it's hard to get out there as well. It drags you in all the time.
It definitely is.
That feeling.
Well, look, Eddie, we'll obviously thank you once again for catching up with us, and I'm sure we'll catch up again soon.
Yeah, much appreciated for the time, Stephen. Sorry I kept you so long and not been able to get on, but obviously with Fight News now, it was a great opportunity to get on, so much appreciated for your time.
Definitely. Thanks very much, Eddie. Cheers. Go
on
the boxing tickets. Cheers, Eddie.
Boxing tickets,
Take care.
Thank you, boy. Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.